Now, if the arguments tonight have fired your political passions, you've still got time to register to vote on May the 7th. You can do so online. Now, our next question is from Rebecca Creamer.
I'm a 25-year-old graduate with a good job, but my generation as a whole have got it pretty tough. It costs us more than our parents to go to uni, we'll work well into our 70s for smaller pensions, and high rents make saving for our own home difficult, if not impossible. We'll be less well off than our parents, and it feels like we're paying for other people's mistakes. If you're elected, what will you do for my generation to help us feel optimistic about our future?
Rebecca, thank you very much indeed. Leanne Wood.
Plaid Cymru believes that we need to invest in our young people, particularly in education, as that is the best route out of poverty. You're right when you say that young people today are going to fare worse than the older generation. And it's the first time for a long while that the generation of today is going to be worse off than the generation before it. Plaid Cymru wants to provide free tuition fees for students, but because of austerity, we are not in a position to do that, even if we were running the Welsh Government. We want to keep the tuition fee subsidy that is available for Welsh students, but we would like students to study in Wales so that we can invest that public money into Welsh universities. But we would like some courses to be made available for free, and I talked earlier on about the need for doctors in the health service in Wales, and we believe that we can attract more doctors by providing free tuition for those particular skilled group of workers.
Leanne Wood, thank you. Ed Miliband.
Rebecca, you speak for so many young people right across our country, so many young people I meet who are asking why they're paying the price of hard times. And that's what we've got to turn around. And that's what I'm going to do if I'm your Prime Minister. Look, the first thing we've got to do is we've got to guarantee all young people access to a good education. So you get a high-quality apprenticeship if you get the grades. That's a guarantee the next Labour government will make. And we'll also cut the tuition fee from £9,000 to £6,000, because I don't want our young people drowning in debt when they leave university. Next, we've got to create good jobs for young people. That's why we'll ban the exploitation of 0 hours contracts. And we'll say if you do regular hours, you get a regular contract. And lastly, we'll build homes again in our country. 200,000 homes a year by 2020. And get a fair deal for young people in the private rented sector where many young people are being ripped off. I believe in what I call the promise of Britain, that the next generation does better than the last. I believe we can restore it.
Ed Miliband, thank you. David Cameron.
Well, thank you, Rebecca, for your question. I think it's absolutely crucial. I think the most important thing is to make sure there are good jobs for people to do. And obviously, in the last Parliament, we've created 2 million new jobs. And in the next Parliament, we want to create 2 million more good jobs for people. I think apprenticeships and universities are vital. I want our young people to have the choice of either. So we're going to have 3 million apprenticeships in the next Parliament, but also we've uncapped university places, so whoever wants a place can go to university. In terms of building homes, I want us to build homes that people can afford to buy, and that's what our starter homes are all about. Put at 80% of the market price, not available to foreign buyers or investment funds, but there for British people to buy and to own. And with our Help to Buy, that has helped about 88,000 people onto the housing ladder, we can make that a reality for people. Now, I know it seems odd to answer a question from a young person about pensions, but actually it is important to be able to look forward to security and dignity in old age. And we've safeguarded the pension because people in our country should be able to look forward to dignity and security at the end of a hard working life.
David Cameron, thank you. Natalie Bennett.
Well, Rebecca, we believe that education is a public good, and therefore it should be paid for from general progressive taxation, far more progressive than we have now. Just look at the facts on this. Students on average now are leaving university with £44,000 worth of debt. 73% of them on current figures will never pay that off. They're going through 30 years of their life, for many people from roughly their mid-20s to their mid-50s. Any time you earn any sort of money at all, you're going to be paying a significant chunk of your income to a debt that you'll never repay. And it's not like this system is actually working. On current figures, again, 45p in the pound is never going to be repaid. So we, in the Green Party, not only want zero university tuition fees, we also want to pay off student loan company debts so people don't have that weight of debt. But of course, we also need changes in housing and jobs that you can build a life on, which is why we're calling for a minimum wage of £10 an hour by 2020.
Natalie Bennett, thank you. Nick Clegg.
Rebecca, let me take the issue of tuition fees head on. I, of course, famously, infamously, couldn't put into practice my party's policy on tuition fees for reasons which I hope you're familiar with. They were introduced by Labour and actually jacked up by Labour, and there was no money left. But we did the next best thing, got the fairest deal possible, and thankfully now there are more young people going to university than ever before on full-time courses, and there are more young people from disadvantaged backgrounds. But if I couldn't do that, I hope some fair-minded folk would at least acknowledge many of the other things that I'm very proud I have managed to do to give more opportunities, to create a stronger economy and a fairer society. We've talked about more apprenticeships than ever before. The huge tax cuts, which mean you pay nothing, no tax, on the first £10,600 you earn as of next week. Better money going to schools through the pupil premium for disadvantaged kids. Healthy meals at lunchtime for little children at primary school. These are the things which make a fairer future for future generations, and I'm very, very proud of them.
Nick Clegg, thank you. Nicola Sturgeon.
Well, I'm the First Minister of Scotland. We're investing in record number of apprenticeships, more affordable homes, and helping the poorest young people in our country stay on at school and college. But we've also kept access to university free of tuition fees. I grew up in a working class family. I wouldn't be standing here as First Minister of Scotland without the free education I had access to. As a politician now, I have no right to take that same entitlement away from the next generation of young people. So I will always fight, work, vote, do whatever it takes to keep access to university free. I think it's shameful for any politician who has benefited from that free education to take it away from others. So MPs in the House of Commons, in the Scottish Parliament, anywhere else will always support the principle that your access to education as a young person should be based entirely on your ability to learn and never ever on your ability to pay.
Nicola Sturgeon, thank you. Nigel Farage.
I think there's a section of young people in this country who are having a fantastic time. Life is great. They're full of optimism. They're the rich. They're the rich. And they're the ones who go to the 7% of schools where their parents are wealthy enough to pay for their education. And they are now dominating politics, the media, the arts, sport in a way I haven't seen before. And their families get richer and richer, and the gap, the social inequality in Britain grows with every single year. By abolishing grammar schools, by abolishing selective education, what we did actually was to pull up the ladder on tens of thousands of young men and women every year who would have done better had they gone to a grammar school. With university education, we encourage lots of people to go to university who actually weren't academic and have come out with debt and would have done better with trade and skills. And to give optimism on housing, well, I've said earlier, we have to build a new house every 7 minutes to cope with migration. Let's cut the numbers and let's have a brownfield building revolution.